Today on Cryptic Mass Guitar, we're going to take a look at the EHX Germanium 4 Big Muff Pi. Alright, so because of the way that this pedal operates and the way that it's made, we're going to break this pedal down into 3 different sections. We're going to go through Overdrive, Distortion, and then Blend. So in the Overdrive section of this video, what we're going to do is I'm going to give you 4 different sound samples. I'm really going to kind of focus on the gain of this pedal for these. So in those 4 sound samples, you're going to hear it not off, but just a little bit up, just enough that you can hear the texture, what the gain is doing. Then we're going to go from the 10 o'clock to the 1 o'clock and then to the max toe position. So for a first sound sample, I'm going to use an Ernie Ball Music Man Monarchy Majesty into a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head. And just to show you kind of a side-by-side comparison, here is a sample before I start this video here of what my clean tone is without this pedal on. So now let's move on to our second sound sample. We're going to move this to the 10 o'clock position in our gain. I'm going to use a Richie Blackmore Fender Stratocaster, and what this is going to sound like through a Fender Super Reverb is it's going to take our cleans while we're picking. It's still going to have a nice clean sound, but then we're also going to have a nice gentle roar when we're hitting some of those chords. So moving on to the 1 o'clock position, using a PRS Singlecut 22 into a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head. You're going to hear the dirtiness of these chords coming through, although they have a nice clarity to it. And then when you hear our lead tone on top of that, using the exact same settings, you're going to hear that it's pushed, it's sweet, and it's mournful. So now diming our gain knob, we're going to also really kind of tame back the bias knob to make sure that we're not getting over the top aggressive with this and we're still keeping a nice solid tone. We're going to use a BC Rich Bitch into a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head. Now let's take a look at the inside of this pedal. Inside this pedal we have 4 germanium transistors, 2 on the left, 2 on the right. The 2 on the left are for the distortion circuit of this pedal, and then the 2 on the right are for the overdrive circuit on this pedal. The only way you can utilize all 4 is if you step on both of the bypass switches on the pedal to engage the overdrive and the distortion side. If I was to pull one of these out, this is what that transistor would look like. Now, these transistors are what were typically used back in the 60s. They produce a very unique sound that people love. This pedal does a really good job of making that happen, but it also gives you the opportunity to kind of bring in a modern flair with it to kind of clean up that tone a little bit too on the way. So without going on too much more about that, we're going to stay on the overdrive side here. We're going to get into the knobs. So the knobs we have gain, bias, tone, and volume. Gain is going to allow you to turn up the amount of dirt that you want in this overdrive circuit. Tone, from the 12 o'clock position, you can turn it up to bring in more treble frequencies, or you can dial it back to smooth in some more lows. And the volume is going to allow you to change or adjust the output volume of this pedal. The one knob here that is quite critical and really tone shapes is this bias knob. Now the bias will change what the characteristic of the gain sound is going to be. So from the 12 o'clock position, you're unaffected. If you want more grit and more in your face, turn to the right. If you want it more compressed and smoother towards more of those classic muff tones, turn it towards the left. So without further ado, I'm going to show you what my clean sound sounds like. Now with the pedal on. So as you can see, it brings a lot of crisp cleans right out, but when you strike harder, really kind of brings everything with the grit to the forefront. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the gain at the 3 o'clock position. And I'm going to start using this bias knob. So when it's in the 12 o'clock position, you're not really doing nothing with this pedal. But if we were to go back, which we're going to do right now, it's going to start to compress the signal a bit until it's way over compressed. So from the 12 o'clock here. Starting to hear it there, right? Really start to hear how much compressed this is. Now this is max compressed all the way left. So you can hear how much it's really choking that signal, and it's really struggling to get what it wants from the gain. So I'm going to bring it back to the 12 o'clock position again. And start moving to the right so we can hear what this sounds like when it's turned up all the way and how aggressive and gritty it gets with the tone. So you can really start to hear a lot more grit. Let's max that out now. So from the compressed to the 12 to the maxed. As you can hear, the versatility of this pedal is incredible with this bias knob. I wish so many other pedals would have this knob on there. So now let's get into the distortion side of this pedal. We're going to use a Gibson SG Special, and we're going to make that gain not to the minimum, but just enough that it's screaming for more gain. moving on now to the 10 o'clock position, what we're going to use is an LTD DV8R, and we're going to plug that into the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head. This is going to sound a lot more like what most people recognize as the Big Muff tone. So now moving on to the 1 o'clock position, I'm going to use my RRR Elk Skull Explorer into the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head again, and we're going to have a nice tamed back thrashy sound. So now let's get an aggressive tone with the Gibson Les Paul Classic Plus with the gain all the way up into the Mesa Boogie dual rectifier multi-watt head. So now we're going to take the volts knob, bring it to the 1 o'clock position, and we're going to use a LTD EC257. Now we're going to move that volts knob into the 11 o'clock position using a Jackson JS 22.7. So now we're going to take that volts knob and turn it almost all the way down, and we're going to use an Ibanez RG3EX FM1 into So now looking at the distortion side of this pedal, we have gain, bias, volts, and volume. Obviously, we've just gone through what gain, bias, and volume are. Now volts, I highly suggest with this knob, starting out, turn it up all the way. What this is doing is giving the full power that this pedal needs. As you start to dial it back from the maximum position, you're starting to cut the voltage. When you're cutting the voltage, this is what is replicating how much juice is left in a battery. So if you want some of those kind of Eric Johnson tones, this is a really cool knob to have because it's going to allow you to get that perfect 4.5 volts, 5 volts, or whatever you want that you would juice a battery just enough to have. Now you can have it to the fact that it's always there and you never have to change the battery. Even though this thing does still take batteries, you can kind of control that and eliminate that factor. So just listening to my clean tone, just like that normal muff tone that everybody knows and loves. Pretty cool. Now let's take the bias knob and go back and forth so that way you can hear it. So here's the bias knob at 12 o'clock position. Already just moving it that much, big change in the sound. Really smooths it out real quick. So let's dial it down some more. Now all the way. Pretty cool, very saturated, very compressed. Now let's bring it back to the 12 o'clock position. Starting to let that grit and grime come through. And max. A lot. Dialing it back all the way to the bottom, then to all the way to the left, sorry, then to the 12 o'clock position, and then max. So here it is all the way to the minimum position. Total tone shaping machine. Love it. A lot of cool sounds you can get with this. So I like that tone. It's kind of a neutral tone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial back this voltage knob to show you guys how much this thing can change with the amount of voltage that's being provided to this pedal. You can get from a really solid sound like you're hearing now to some really like farty style fuzz tones. So all the way up. You hear we're starting to lose it big time. And then all the way down. So you really get into those really farty tones. Really kind of cool. Turn it up a little bit more. Here's that halfway tone. You can hear that it's still struggling for strength. So, all the way down again. $12. All the way up. So now let's listen to some more sound samples, but utilizing both sides of the pedal at the same time for the most aggressive tone that you can get out of this pedal. So for my last stereo sound sample, I'm going to go as aggressive as I can with still maintaining a solid tone. And I'm going to use an LTD Grynch baritone. So now I'm into the stacking portion of this video where I'm going to stack the two different circuits, and I'm going to show you two different uses for these two circuits. So here is my distortion tone, just a nice saturated tone that I kind of came up with utilizing all the knobs. Pretty decent tone. Now, before we get into the boosting portion of this pedal, if I take my volume and bring it all the way down, this is a really good mute switch because it completely takes out all the output volume. Kind of cool if you already have a boost or you're not into boosting signals. This can be an excellent option for you because this pedal can be quite noisy on its own. So having that mute switch on stage, you can't go wrong. So now let's turn that volume up and use it as a boost. So gain all the way down. Let's put bias in the middle and our tone in the middle. Normal signal. Now, for me, I'd rather kind of tame some of those treble signals, so let's bring that back a bit. To me, that sounds pretty good. Now, another cool feature to this is the fact that you still have that bias knob. So if you find that is still a little bit too hairy on the top end, you still have that compression factor that you can use with this bias switch to the whole signal. So I'm going to turn the pedal on and off with the overdrive switch to show the difference between the two. So a lot more thicker, lot more lower end. I kind of like that sound. It kind of gives a lot of meat to the sound. But if you want to go the other way with the bias switch, you definitely can. And you can get even more hairier than that. I kind of like it there. And if you want to use this as just another stacked crazy gain pedal, you can do that too and add some more to the sound. Let's go full bore with both gains now. Get extra muddy and extra nasty. Now let's change the voltage to halfway. Kind of cool, I like that. Now for a more fartier sound. So this concludes my review of EHX Germanium 4 Big Muff Pi. This is an excellent pedal, really cool pedal, and can also be extremely misunderstood. And what it does extremely well if you're looking for that type of tone. If you plug into this pedal not knowing what these knobs are going to do, it can be quite the turn off. If you don't know what this voltage knob is actually doing, you throw everything at the 12 o'clock position, all of a sudden you turn it on, and then you're getting that starving battery sound. It might be like, whoa, is there something going on with the cable, something going on with the pedal? No, it's supposed to do that. So like I said before, dial that all the way up, and then once you find the tone that you want, then start to dial it back to taste. The fact that it does that, and you don't have to, for the guys that like your battery at a certain percentage, the fact that you don't have to go through battery after battery after battery trying to make sure it's at what you like it to be, like kind of like the Eric Johnson tone. It's a cool element of this pedal to always have it set there and not have to worry about it. A lot of really cool tones. Yeah, you can get into some fartiness depending on how far back you go with that, but you can really get into some sweet fuzz tones and some really cool gnarly sounds. Having this overdrive as a boost, to me, that's where this thing really shines and kicks it into overdrive, but as an overdrive alone, it's also excellent. So depending on how you want to use this pedal, either you can use it as two independently different pedals, or you can use it as something that you can stack. This is an awesome pedal. Can't go wrong with it. Don't get too discouraged with the knobs. I think I broke it down pretty clearly for everybody, so it's not too overwhelming. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the comments, and I'll try to answer those for you. Until next time, I'm Kevin of Cryptic Max Guitar. Take care.